There is a secret that every airline pilot knows, but most passengers never think about. The altitude where your plane flies is not chosen randomly. It is calculated based on factors that include fuel prices, wind speeds, engine capabilities, and even the risk of catastrophic failure. And the most shocking part? The perfect altitude keeps changing during every single flight. In this Sky Secrets episode, I will reveal why planes use something called step climb to continuously adjust altitude, how jet streams can cut hours off transatlantic flights, and what happens when a plane must fly lower than normal. You are about to discover the hidden science and economics behind one of the most basic facts of air travel. This information will blow your mind. I have spent years analyzing commercial flight operations and aircraft performance data. My research includes studying fuel consumption patterns, aerodynamic efficiency, and safety protocols used by major international airlines. The information I am sharing today comes from verified sources including aviation regulatory documents and pilot training materials. This is the real story of high-altitude flight. The first reason airlines fly so high is economic, and it is far more complex and important than you imagine. Flying at high altitude saves massive amounts of fuel. But let me explain exactly how this works, because this is information that airlines prefer you do not understand in detail. At low altitude, the air is extremely dense. This means the airplane must push against millions upon millions of air molecules to move forward. It is like trying to swim through honey instead of water. This phenomenon is called aerodynamic drag, and it is the #1 enemy of fuel efficiency. The engines must work much harder, burning enormous quantities of fuel just to maintain speed. But at 10,000 meters or 33,000 feet, the situation changes dramatically. The air is approximately 75% less dense than at sea level. With fewer molecules blocking the path forward, drag decreases significantly. Less drag means substantially less work for the engines. This translates into enormous fuel savings. And now prepare yourself for a fact that will leave you stunned. Fuel represents between 30 and 40% of all operational costs for an airline. To help you understand this, a large airline can spend more than $10 million daily on fuel alone. That is why any strategy to reduce consumption is not just about saving a little money. It means the difference between profitability and bankruptcy. But wait, there is more. During a transatlantic flight, a commercial airplane burns between 50 and 100 tons of fuel. This means the aircraft becomes significantly lighter during the journey. Pilots take advantage of this with a little-known technique called step climb or stepwise ascent. Instead of maintaining a constant altitude, the plane climbs progressively as it becomes lighter. Each step upward means less drag and more fuel savings. This technique alone can save thousands of dollars on a single long-distance flight. Every major airline uses this strategy, but they rarely explain it to passengers. Now, if flying high reduces drag so much, why not fly even higher? Perhaps to 15,000 or 20,000 meters? The answer lies in the basic physics of jet engines and aerodynamics. This is where things get truly fascinating, and it involves a phenomenon that could mean life or death. Modern turbofan engines are amazing machines of engineering, but they have one fundamental weakness. They need oxygen to function. The process is simple in theory. The engine compresses air, mixes it with fuel, ignites it, and expels the gases at high velocity to generate thrust. The problem is that the higher you fly, the less oxygen is available. At 12,000 meters, the oxygen concentration is barely 1/3 of what exists at sea level. If an airplane tried to fly too high, its engines would lose power dramatically until they shut down completely from lack of oxygen to maintain combustion. This is a hard physical limit that cannot be overcome with current technology. But there is another crucial factor. Lift. The wings generate the force that keeps the airplane in the air by moving through the air. But what happens when that air is extremely thin? At very high altitudes, the wings lose efficiency because there are simply fewer air molecules to generate lift. The airplane would begin to have serious difficulties staying stable in flight. That is why there exists a delicate balance. The higher you go, the lower the drag. But altitude is limited by available oxygen and lift affected by air density. This balance defines what engineers call the service ceiling of an aircraft, the maximum altitude at which it can operate efficiently and safely. Now let me reveal one of the best-kept secrets in commercial aviation. Airplanes do not just fly high to reduce drag. They also fly high to surf on invisible highways in the sky. At cruising altitudes, there exist air currents called jet streams, which are true rivers of air that can reach astonishing speeds of up to 400 kilometers per hour. Imagine this scenario. You are piloting a Boeing 787 flying at 900 kilometers per hour by its own means. Suddenly, you enter a jet stream moving in your same direction at 300 kilometers per hour. The result is that your ground speed shoots up to 1,200 kilometers per hour without needing to use a single extra gram of fuel. It is like getting a free turbo boost from nature itself. To help you understand with the concrete example, a transatlantic flight can shorten its time by up to 90 minutes, taking advantage of these currents. This saves tons of fuel and significantly reduces operational costs. This is not theory. Airlines and air traffic controllers constantly study these currents to design routes that take maximum advantage of them. Have you ever noticed that flights heading east, for example, from America to Europe, are usually faster than return flights? This is not coincidence. They are taking advantage of jet streams, which generally flow from west to east in the northern hemisphere. However, there is a negative side. If an airplane must fly against a jet stream, the effect is exactly the opposite. Speed decreases, flight time extends, and fuel consumption increases considerably. That is why sometimes you will see your flight making an apparently illogical detour on the map. They are avoiding flying against these powerful currents. Every route is carefully calculated to maximize tailwinds and minimize headwinds. The difference can be enormous. A flight fighting against a strong jet stream might consume an additional 5,000 liters of fuel and arrive 2 hours late. For an airline operating hundreds of flights daily, these calculations mean millions of dollars in annual savings or losses. This is why route planning is a science that combines meteorology, physics, and economics in real time. Now let us talk about something we have all experienced: turbulence. Nobody likes those unexpected jolts that make the seatbelt lights come on, right? Well, flying high also has a crucial purpose here, avoiding most turbulence. The majority of chaotic weather occurs in the troposphere, the lowest layer of the atmosphere where clouds form, storms develop, and unstable winds exist. This layer extends approximately to 9,000 or 10,000 meters of altitude. Does that sound familiar? Exactly. Commercial airplanes fly just above this turbulent zone. It is like sailing above a stormy sea instead of through it. But then, why do we sometimes experience turbulence even at high altitude? This is due to a phenomenon called clear air turbulence. Unlike turbulence associated with storms, this type can appear without warning because it is not easily detected on weather radars. It occurs when masses of air at different temperatures or speeds meet, creating invisible but powerful vortices. That is why pilots insist that we keep our seat belts fastened even when the sky appears completely clear. It is not paranoia. It is precaution based on science and real incidents. Before we continue with the most important question about what happens when a plane must fly lower than normal, give this video a like if you are learning something new, and subscribe to Sky Secrets so you do not miss any fascinating details about the world of aviation. Activating the notification bell means you will be the first to know about our next videos revealing aviation secrets that few people understand. Sky Secrets brings you information you will not find anywhere else. Now, one crucial advantage of flying at high altitude that few people consider is the safety factor. When an airplane experiences a problem mid-flight, such as an engine failure, altitude becomes its best ally. Why? Because it gives extra time to react. At 10,000 meters, a commercial airplane can glide for more than 100 kilometers, even without engine power. This gives the crew precious time to attempt resolving the technical problem, search for a safe place to land, communicate with air traffic control, and prepare passengers. Every second counts in an emergency, and altitude provides those seconds. A case that perfectly exemplifies this advantage occurred in 1982 with British Airways Flight 009. Mid-flight over Indonesia, the plane flew through a volcanic ash cloud from Mount Galunggung, something weather radars could not detect at that time. The ash damaged all 4 engines of the Boeing 747, leaving it completely without propulsion at 11,000 meters altitude. For 13 terrifying minutes, the crew had to glide the gigantic airplane while desperately trying to restart the engines while slowly descending. Thanks to the initial high altitude, they had enough time to perform multiple restart attempts. Finally, they managed to restart 3 of the 4 engines and make an emergency landing in Jakarta. All 263 people on board survived. If the airplane had been flying at lower altitude, the story would have had a very different ending. Altitude literally saved their lives. This is why airlines and aviation regulations mandate that commercial flights maintain these high cruising altitudes whenever possible. It is not just about efficiency, it is about having a safety margin that could mean the difference between life and death in a critical situation. Now imagine this scenario. You are on a flight and suddenly notice the clouds are no longer far below but surrounding the airplane. The pilot announces they are descending to a lower than usual altitude. What does this really mean? When an airplane must fly at lower altitude, whether due to an emergency, airspace restrictions, or extreme weather conditions, several serious problems occur. First, fuel consumption skyrockets. As we already explained, denser air means greater drag. An airplane flying at 5,000 meters can consume up to 50% more fuel than at its optimal altitude. This is an enormous operational cost that airlines try to avoid at all costs. Second, exposure to turbulence and adverse weather conditions increases drastically. While at 10,000 meters you are above most storms, at 5,000 meters you are right in the middle of them. The flight becomes much more uncomfortable and potentially more dangerous. Third, and this is critical, modern commercial airplanes are specifically designed to be efficient at high altitudes. Their wings, fuselage, and engines are optimized for thin air at high elevations. Flying very low for prolonged periods can cause accelerated wear on the entire structure due to greater aerodynamic pressure. It is like using a Ferrari to haul construction materials. It will work, but it is not what it was designed for. That is why, although in emergency situations airplanes can fly at lower altitude, pilots always try to return to optimal altitude as soon as possible. Safety regulations, aircraft engineering, and operational economics all point in the same direction upward. So the next time you are on a flight and look out the window at clouds far below, remember this. That altitude is not random. It is the result of decades of aeronautical engineering, atmospheric physics, economic calculations, and safety protocols all working together to get you to your destination in the most efficient and secure way possible. Now you know why airplanes fly so high. It saves enormous amounts of fuel by reducing aerodynamic drag. It takes advantage of jet streams to fly faster without extra fuel consumption. It avoids most weather turbulence, and it provides a crucial safety margin in emergencies. Right now, at this very moment, there are approximately 9,700 commercial airplanes flying above our heads. Each one is using these exact principles that you just learned. But here is what most passengers will never discover. There are dozens of other aviation secrets hidden in plain sight. Decisions made every single day that affect your safety, your comfort, and your wallet. The airline industry operates on information asymmetry. They know you do not. Until now, do not let this knowledge stop here. If this video opened your eyes to how aviation really works, show your support by hitting that like button right now. It tells YouTube to share this with more curious minds like yours. Then subscribe to Sky Secrets because we are building a community of people who refuse to fly blind. We dig deeper than anyone else. Every week we expose another layer of aviation truth that airlines assume you will never question. Hit that bell icon so you never miss when we drop the next revelation. Your journey into aviation secrets has only just begun.